Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. We have another Warhammer 40k battle report for you today. 2,000 points, Black Templars versus Death Guard. We're going to be playing Big Guns Never Tire from the rulebook with hammer and anvil deployment. So we have 4 objectives. They're worth 3 points each at the end of the game. Heavy support units can take them from anyone else. We have 2 here in the open, a 3rd here, and a 4th here. The Black Templar are going to be on this side, Death Guard on the opposite side, in spectacular fashion for Big Guns Never Tire, we have 1 heavy support choice total between the 2 armies. So that's going to play very little role in this game. However, the Devastators from the Black Templar are going to have a home objective to sit on, so it could make a difference. We will be right back with the armies.
Okay, so the Black Templar will be organized into a battalion. The first HQ in the Warlord is Hellbricht. My second HQ is an Emperor's Champion. And the third HQ is a Primaris Chaplain who will be wearing the Crusader's helm. In the troops, I have 2 squads of 9 Crusaders with a power sword and a plasma gun each. Then I have a 5-man squad of Crusaders equipped with bolters, a heavy bolter, a plasma gun, and a power sword on the sergeant. Then for elites, I have a squad of 9 Reavers. They will be rolling around with the chaplain. And in the fast attacks, I have a 10-man assault squad with 3 plasma pistols, a power sword, and a combat shield, and a squad of 3 Inceptors with assault bolters. In the heavy support slot, the sole heavy support for this matchup, a squad of Devastators with an Armorium Cherub armed with 4 missile launchers. In the transports, I have a pair of Rhinos, then I have a twin heavy bolter equipped Razorback, and a repulsor with the anti-infantry setup.
Next up, we have the forces of Nurgle. We are also in a battalion. Leading things off, we have the Demon Prince, who is the Warlord. He has 2 sets of Malefic Talons. The suppurating plate in his Warlord trait will be Arch Contaminator. We have a Malignant Plaguecaster there with him. The Demon Prince's power is Miasma of Pestilence. And the 2 powers for the Plaguecaster are Blades of Putrefaction, and we're going to run... what's it called? Curse the Leopard for his 2nd power. They are going to be guarded by a 5-man retinue of Blight Lord Terminators. They have a Blight Launcher and 4 Combi Plasmas, and then a mix of 3 swords and 2 axes. We have 3 Rhinos with their standard kit out, and that's to lead around the bulk of our army here. We have 4 squads of Plague Marines. 2 squads have 2 plasma guns each. The 3rd squad has 2 Plague Spears, and the 4th squad has 2 Blight Launchers. Finishing things off, we have some demonic support. We have 3 of the Mephitic Blight Haulers and 2 Fetid Bloat Drones. The Bloat Drones are armed with Plague Spitters and Plague Probes. You have seen the armies and you have seen the table. We will be back as we get stuck into the Maelstrom. Alright, armies are down. The Black Templar finished first, so Josh is going to walk us down his force.
So I set the Repulsor and the Reavers with the Primaris Chaplain inside up on my far flank to provide a little deep strike screen coverage from the Blight Lord Terminators that are in deep strike reserve on my opponent's side. The Devastators obviously took up their position on the central objective so that we would have range and line of sight to whatever we need to fight over the center of the table. Immediately to their right, behind the armored wall, is the assault squad. All 3 of my Rhino chassis support elements are set up to spearhead right in on the objectives in the center of the table. And in the back right hand corner of my army, also screening a little bit on my flanks from the Blight Lords, is the 3-man Inceptor squad. So everything of mine is deployed on the table. I will have no deep strike, no reserve.
Black Templar's motto right there. 100% committed. Alright, so the Death Guard side, we do have the Blight Lords in deep strike reserve. We've got the Demon Engines anchoring the center here. We then have the 3 Rhinos spread across the front, Plaguecasters and Plasma Guns here, and the Plague Spear squad here. Blight Launchers are huffing and puffing and bringing up the back. We then have 2 bloat drones and the demon prince over here to intermingle support wherever it's needed. Alright, so the Black Templar did finish deploying by 1 unit, so they're going to have first turn unless the Death Guard can seize the initiative. A 2 will not do it. So I assume you are going first, right? Alright, Black Templar are going to be taking turn 1. We will be back when that's finished.
So Templar first turn has come to an end. There will not be an assault phase. We just opted for a more conservative approach. Wasn't yet time to pounce. There's a lot of game left to play over those 2 objectives in the middle especially. So we shifted our Rhino block further to our left and moved our repulsor up to get some fire in range of my opponent's lines. The Devastators fired 5 shots. We burned the Armorium Cherub and left the Rhino here with 6 wounds left. The Heavy Bolters, actually we left it with 7, and the Heavy Bolters off of the Razorback and the Repulsor knocked the last wound that we took out of it out. And the Onslaught Cannon, the Heavy Onslaught Cannon, managed to knock a couple of wounds out of one of the Blight Haulers. Yeah, they converted well. 4 hits, 3 wounds, but I rolled 2 5+. Death Guard doing what I always seem to do with them. I mean, you knocked 3 points out with that one. So that's it for Black Templar for turn 1. Death Guard turn 1 coming up next. Death Guard turn 1 is in the books. We will not have an assault phase. We went ahead and advanced this Rhino forward to get some range. This is the Plague Spear squad. We also advanced with the 2 bloat drones to get them up so they can do what they do best. And these 2 Rhinos pulled forward and popped smoke. The Mephitic Blight Haulers moved to the flank, and the Demon Prince moved up behind them with the Blight Launchers advancing to bring up the rear. Blight Launchers couldn't get a shot. There's just too much steel between them and the Black Templars. But we were able to fire. These guys score 5 hits, 4 of which wounded. All 3 of them, the Meltas did, and did like 13 points to this Razorback and took it out of commission along with 1 of the Marines from inside. So that is first blood. That's it for the Death Guard turn though. No morale checks or anything. They're all good to go. Black Templars are going to get another shooting phase and we will be back. Okay, so the Black Templar are up to the assault phase. In the shooting, we got all of our Marines out to get plasma gun fire and some supporting bolter fire down on the bloat drones that were encroaching upon us. We combined all of our firepower that we could get, including overcharging every one of our plasma in order to knock down the first bloat drone, and the remaining fire from the repulsor and a couple of storm bolters managed to leave the other bloat drone with 9 wounds.
And actually that wasn't even that. That was when this one popped. So not very, there were tons of 5s. He did really well. He wounded a lot, but 5s just held up forever. It literally took every gun in the army to bring that drone down.
So in the assault phase, the Rhino all the way up front locked both of his Rhinos up, so hopefully they'll be a little more slow in their move forward in the coming turn. And this Rhino, despite losing a couple more wounds after the explosion of the bloat drone in front of him, did manage to make contact with that bloat drone, clearing the Emperor's Champion to make an 11-inch charge to try to cut that thing down. It's long odds, but if any character in this army could do damage to that thing, he's the one to do it.
Just channel that it's a character, even if it's not true. Alright, so we're up to the assault phase, right? Good to go for fighting. Alright, fighting coming up.
Well, so the Emperor's Champion, we have a track record with Emperor's Champions. They very rarely walk out of a battle, but I was kind of hoping that he would do something more than what he did. He did get 1 wound out of the bloat drone, but the bloat drone wounded him twice, failed both of his impulse saves, and killed him.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Whatever. We're Black Templar. The Rhinos didn't do anything to one another. Big gong show there, but we are tied in combat, so at least he's not advancing next turn.
Yep. Alright, so Death Guard turn 2 coming up next. Nurgle turn 2 is up to the assault phase. We went ahead and did a general advance. Everybody moved forward. The squad that was on this side of the Rhino locked in combat moved across here after disembarkation. The squad on the other side had left first. They disembarked here. The Plaguecaster came in this direction because it was a little bit safer seemed. So we went ahead and got all the infantry out that were there in those pinned up rhinos. The Rhino on this flank disembarked his Plague Spear squad here onto the hill and then moved around to this end, and the Prince jumped into the middle to lend some support. We went ahead and fell back with the drone here to the center position, continued our advance with the crawlers, and moved those Marines, like I said, over there, advanced the Blight launcher squad back here. Into the shooting, or into the movement phase, we brought the Terminators in here, and they teleported through with a cloud of flies, so they're not going to be targetable unless they're the closest target in the coming turn. Then we wrapped things up with Psychic phase before we got started shooting. All three powers went off. We got Miasma of Pestilence on the crawlers here. We got Blades of Putrefaction from this guy on the Demon Prince, and Smite, and he also got Pestilential Fallout on both, leaving this Rhino at 1 point after all was said and done. It did take a couple of wounds in the shooting phase, but I think the caster did 4 to it, and the shooting phase did 2. We then fired our Plasma squad that was behind the Demon Prince here with Vets of the Long War. That coupled with the Plague Spear squad's Plague Spears was able to cut this entire squad down, and Bolters from the Plague Spear squad cut one of the Assault Marines down. Terminators fired all guns here and were able to barely bring down all 3 of the Intercessors. The last one had to go down to a Blight launcher, and we did have to use a reroll to get a 2 on the D3 to get rid of him. The Crawlers continued to be insane with their multi-melt, as hit and wounded with all 3, or hit and wounded with 2 actually, and did 10 wounds to the repulsor, but the missile launchers were unable to contribute from there. We were also able, with some fire from the Blight launchers and Plasma squads on that side, to cut down 2 of the 4 Marines here, and then the Plague Spitters from the Bloat drone that fell back cut down a Marine or 2 here, along with some support fire from the Bolters and Plasma. We have several charges going in. The Crawlers are charging into the 2-man squad here, the Heavy Bolter and the Plasma gun. They did lose 2 more wounds on Overwatch though, and then we are charging into these Rhinos. The Prince rolled a 7 and leapt across into the gap to fight both of them. The Marines here are going to be charging in as well, along with the Plaguecaster. And these Marines made a 9-inch charge to help their buddies up here against the Plasma squad. So several combats to work, and then we will be back. Assault phase rolls to an end. The Crawlers were able to kill off the 2-man squad before these Marines could swing. They then piled into the Ancient and the squad behind them, or behind him. These Marines were unable to do anything to this Rhino. They did 4 wounds, and the Plaguecaster boloed, but the 4 wounds all bounced off of the 3 up. The Demon Prince threw his attacks in this direction. 7 hits, generated 2 more with Death to the False Emperor. Scored another hit there, and with the 8 managed to knock out 3 points, or 3 damage worth total, or 3 wounds rather, so 6 damage. I'll get it right eventually. So we did 6 wounds to that Rhino, nothing to this one, and killed off the 2-man squad and piled into the next squad here. This squad was unable to do anything with these guys under Miasma and the special combat rule for the Blight Haulers. He was just not able to land enough to do anything. So that is end of Death Guard 2. We will be back as the Black Templar respond in the top of 3.
Templar are up to the assault phase. We moved the Assault Marines up in the movement phase so that we would have some charge distances finally with them. Helbricht moved out from behind the combat so that he could support the charge that's coming. We combined all of the firepower that we could and got 5 of the Plague Marines out of that squad. We did lose one Assault Marine on Overwatch when we declared the charge afterwards. Those Assault Marines also declared a double charge, so they are also into the Plasma squad that's locked up on the 1-wound Rhino. The Reavers fired on the Marines in front of them and didn't do anything. But they did make an 8-inch charge, so they will be able to lock that squad up fairly well, along with the chaplain that is standing out there with them. The repulsor, who was hitting on 4s because of the damage he took in the previous turn, did manage to knock down 3 members of the Blight Launcher squad, bringing up the rear of the Death Guard army. I think that's all of our charges.
Yep, and did lose one Reaver here to plasma fire. The Overwatch was kind of crazy there. So we're getting ready to work these fights, and we will be back.
Okay, so close combat rolls to an end. The Reavers and the Chaplain fought against the Plague Marines. We used an Honor the Chapter stratagem, so any 6s that we rolled generated extra attacks. They generated 6 extra attacks and hit with all 6 of them, and we got 4 out of the squad, and he lost 1 to morale after that. The Assault Squad and Helbricht killed the 2 individuals left with the Plague Spewers, and the Assault Squad downed 1 of the Plasma Gun Squad that they double charged. Then we used the stratagem to let them fight for a second time, and the second time around they downed 2 or 3 more.
Mm-hmm. I think 2 each time.
So. 2 each time. So not a bad expenditure of points there for no damage in return. Ultimately, we can't really complain about that when we're down in Plague Marines that fast.
Yep.
Helbricht consolidated into the crawlers to try to add some weight of combat there in the coming turn, but they didn't really seem to need it. The champion hit 3 times despite being at -2 to hit, and wounded twice and knocked 1 wound out, and the Crusade Squad through their attacks knocked a 2nd wound out, leaving 1 of the crawlers remaining with 2 wounds.
Yep.
That's as close as we have come in combat to doing that before, and the Marines are really punching above their weight class to make that happen.
Oh yeah, not bad at all. Good turn there. Alright, so we did get the 2 rhinos in return. Barely. We wounded this one 6 times and it failed 1 of the saves. But we were able finally to down these rhinos, these pests in our backfield. So we are up to Death Guard, turn 3. We will be back once that is over. Alright, the Death Guard are ready for the assault phase. Blightlords move forward. Their cloud of flies has not dissipated yet. And then they opened fire. Kind of poorly. Brought down 2 Marines here and 1 Marine here. The Rhinos cut another one down with their bolter fire. We then fired the Blight Launchers from here. And the Plague Spitters from here into the Repulsor to no effect. But the Blight Lord's Blight Launcher was able to knock 3 of its 6 remaining wounds out. The only power we got off was Miasma of Pestilence from the Demon Prince. We failed the other 2. We did have to use a command reroll to get off of a double 1 on the Plague Caster, but still did not pass his power. So we got Miasma of Pestilence, which we put on the Blight Haulers again. These Marines fell back from close combat with their opponents so that we could do some shooting there. Got a pair of them. We are now charging them with a Rhino, the Plague Caster, and the Terminators, who all made their charges. The Demon Prince and the Blight Launcher Squad are going into the Reavers here, and we are charging into these guys with the Rhino. He did make the long charge with a 10. So we're going to go ahead and lock everybody up here, do some combats, and then we will be back. Nurgle's assault phase has wrapped up. The Assault Marines were cut down by the Blight Lords, who moved on towards the combat over here. The Mephitic Blight Haulers then got their act together, finally cut down the entire Marine squad. They did end up taking a couple of wounds from Helbricht, which finished this last guy off. I left it to chance on whether he blew up. Should have burned my last point because the Plague Probe here left the Repulsor at 1 wound. So I would have auto-killed him, but wasn't thinking about it at the time. So the Repulsor is sitting there with 1 wound. Didn't do anything to the drone. The Rhino charged here, no damage either way. And then down here between the Marines and the Demon Prince that charged, we cut down all but 2 of the Reavers. And then the last 2 fled on morale. The Chaplain scored a hit and a wound, but the 4+ armor managed to hold up this time. And then for his troubles, they poked 2 wounds in him with their knives. So that is it for Nurgle's turn. Black Templar coming up next.
Okay, so we went ahead and wrapped everything up in one shot for the Templar. Since we were locked in combat and with pretty much everything, the Repulsor fell back, fired on the 3 Marines in the outcropping of rocks in the center of the table, and still could not get any damage through on them. Would have liked to have seen 1 or 2 of them go down through the weight of fire, but 2 ups held up. The Devastators fired their bolt pistols in combat, couldn't get anything through on the Rhino. A whole lot of nothing as far as shooting goes. In combat, the Chaplain managed to kill one of the 2 Marines he was locked with and survived the return blows at half wounds. The company ancient took his swing and wounded a hauler.
Again.
For the 3rd time. And then died to the hauler's attacks, made his 3+ roll for the standard, and wounded the hauler again. But he did make his armor save the 2nd time, so at least that held up for him. Helbrick swung for everything he had, but we couldn't get enough damage through to make a difference. However, Helbrick's still there, the chaplain's still there, we still got a couple of surviving devastators. At this point, with the banner fallen, the Templar are going to retire the field. Yep,
getting a little bloody at this point. Excellent work killing off all those Plague Marines early in the game. Very bloody there. Was worried about another turn of that. But the Death Guard resiliency did hold up just long enough here to finish them off towards the end. That will be a Nurgle victory. We will have after-action reviews and army lists at the blog as always. Be sure to give us a like on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and give us a subscription to see new content as it comes out. Leave a comment below if you have any suggestions, anything you want to see us play, anything like that. As always, guys, thanks for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.